Hello.
Hello. Good evening.
How are you doing, guys?
Good. Yeah, busy. Very busy. Last week was a bit of a blur, and that's why we cancelled last week's show. A lot going on in the Wren Manor, but yeah. What about yourselves?
Good. Can't complain. Well, I mean,
You've
I
been
could,
busy,
but
Linda.
Nobody listens, really?
Yeah, but you've been pretty busy, right? Like doing a lot of investigations and stuff, right? Or you're about to be doing that?
Yeah, we're about to be. Actually, tomorrow we are going to do an investigation with another paranormal team. So that's going to be fun. Can't tell you where, because, that would give it all away. And
Can't do
you
that.
never know.
No,
well, you never know who'll show up. You know what that's like, right?
Oh, yeah. You can't give locations away because you want to keep it all to yourselves. Is that what it is?
That's right.
No,
we don't want others showing up. Yeah, we don't want other cars showing up and then people coming.
You don't want looky-loos coming and...
Exactly.
You don't want me turning up with my heavy mod. That's it.
No, we don't want that.
My thrill-seeking gang of hoodlums.
That's right.
Who run around with flashlights and bits of Chinese plastic and with flashing lights and calls everything a ghost.
If there was going to be food, I'd show up.
Yeah.
Well, I might bring granola bars, just if you're lucky.
So, I don't know. I'll wait till you give results of the investigation. I'll behave.
Okay, sounds good.
What about you, Kathy? How you been? What you been up to?
Oh, not too bad. My daughter is moving, so that's been fun. And they're moving. It's amazing how much they can fit into an apartment. And now they have a 4-bedroom house. It's massive. It's huge. And it still looks like full. And I'm like, how the hell did you put all of this furniture and stuff into this apartment? Because I don't know. Like, what did you do? Like, did you stack everything on top of each other? It's crazy.
She obviously played a lot of Tetris when she was younger. That's what it is. It's the art.
I think so. See, video games, me being a lazy mom, all good. There you go.
It has paid off. It has.
Oh,
what's that?
It has paid off being a lazy mother.
Exactly. Yeah. No, been pretty good, actually. Just kind of, it was good that we took last week off. I think it sort of, gave us all some time to do what we needed to do. And kind of gave even my other channel. I've been kind of the last couple of weeks. I've been really quiet on it, not for any reason except for the fact that just needed to get some stuff done. And so yeah, good. I think I'm all caught up now. Good to go, and business is good. Yeah.
I took the opportunity last week to start kind of making some equipment myself. So I've been. I managed to successfully make a spirit box, not build a spirit box from scratch, but I adapted a cheap $20 radio and turned it into a spirit box. And I did that successfully. And I didn't burn myself with a soldering iron or anything like that. So that's a good thing as well.
Good.
And I also developed, I don't know whether you've heard, Lynda or Kathy, have you ever heard of a portal? The piece of equipment called the portal. So
no, I haven't actually. What is that? I have not heard of that.
It's made by it was first made famous by a guy called Steve Huff, who's very questionable in his authenticity and whether he's actually legit or anything like that. But anyway, he made a portal, which is basically you plug a spirit box into it, and it creates with the frequency spikes. It will first of all, there's 2 steps to it. First of all, it will eliminate the static, so you get that as you're going through, and it also echoes the sound when it comes through as well. So if you hear, say for example, with spirit boxes, you're scanning through and all of a sudden you hear John like that, and you're like, what was that? But with the with the device it hooks up to, it creates like an echo, so you've got more chance of picking it up as well. So I hooked that up, and he sells them in like a fancy little pine box with a like a digital display on the front of it. He sells them from anything between $400 to $600. I made mine out of, I think I paid about $70 for mine.
Good for you.
It's not in a fancy pine box or anything like that. I've upgraded from the Betty Crocker box. So I've actually upgraded to a pencil tin that kids use at school. So I've developed one of those. So it's so that's what I got up to. And then I'm also making at the moment. I've got one of Mason's old Paw Patrol toys. I've got one of those.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
I'm going to turn it into a REM pod.
Oh my gosh, no way.
I've ordered all the lights and stuff like that, and I'm basically going to develop it. And I'm going to put motion sensors in his neck, and it's going to have lights coming out of his eyes as well. So with things like that, because of the stuffing and stuff like that, it's either going to go really, really well and it's going to look really good, or alternatively, it's going to look like he's just been hit by a car. So
just maybe not show Mason. I don't think the kids running in the hallway.
Yeah, and I was like, "What the hell, that?" The eyes are flashing as well. He's stuff like that. So that's a plan.
It'd be good for like instead of Elf on the Shelf, it'll be Paw Patrol on a whatever.
Yeah, on steroids.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to have a built-in geophone as well. So basically, if anything moves on the base, I'm going to put a sensor just under its bum. So if there's anything moves on the surface or anything like that, it will set the alarm off as well. So you can't even breathe near that thing without it setting off. So that's the plan anyway.
That's clever. You're so clever, Pete.
I'm not clever. I just watch a lot of. I pay attention to a lot of people. There's a lot of people out there. There's a guy in the UK that I recently hooked up with, a guy called Andy Bailey, and he makes his own equipment, and he does tutorials on how to build the equipment as well.
That's amazing.
Honestly, and like the stuff, like he makes it easy for everyone. And like his emphasis is, well, you can buy his stuff, and obviously with him, he's got to make a profit out of it and stuff like that. But he doesn't sell his equipment near to what they sell him for, like in other ghost stores and stuff like that. And he's got a really good grasp on looking outside the box as well. Like, like for example, Lynda, with spirit boxes, you've got AM and FM, like those kind of things as well. Yes. But he looks at all the bands. So he's got long wave, medium wave, short wave. So, and he's experimenting with that. And he's also got on the flip side of that, where you're trying to avoid like the stations and stuff like that, he's developed a spirit box that it will you turn it on and it will scan through all the frequencies and it will store all the stations to the device. And then what you can do is you can then play that back and it just goes through the radio stations.
Right.
So it's a total flip of the original concept, and he's just thinking outside the box kind of thing. That's really interesting.
That's amazing. Brilliant.
I really like the idea of the spirit box not having the static, because I'm very sensitive to that white noise.
Yeah, and it turns a lot of people away. Like even like seasoned ghost hunters and like Dave Gibb and stuff like that. Dave Gibb, Lynda, he's like anti spirit box and stuff. He's not really against it, but I don't think that people have really given it a good test run. In a regard of they just, they hear the noise and they're like, no, I don't want anything to do with it or anything like that. Yeah. But it's really interesting, because once you take whatever way you do it, like I used to use software to eliminate the static. I used to record it, and then I used to put it into a software package where it got rid of static, and and just brings out the actual noise itself. I used to, once you take that away, it's some of the like the words or the names and stuff like that you get from it. There's just no, there's no way denying that there's something behind it, because I've had like full names. I've had my name, full name come out of it. I had Scott, one of my old investigators, I had his name come out of it as well. All in one sitting. And then we had the client's name, who was sitting in the front room as well. And she heard it when she was sitting in the front room and came bursting through the door. Wow. It's just crazy. And then another thing was, when I was building that portal thing up in the kitchen, I was like, the kids were playing in the front room, and Janine was in the front room playing with the kids as well. I basically sat there and I hooked it up and I got rid of all the noise and stuff like that, and it was just going. It was making all sorts of noises and stuff like that, and I just said, "What's my name?" And it came through as Janina, like, and it was perfectly loud, and it's like my oldest son, he heard it. He was like, "Who said that?" And he came in and he was asking questions about it. I was like, no, that's not what he said, and stuff like that. And it's just like, it was like he heard it as well. It's just so clear and loud. But
wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. So, do you think your house has some activity in it?
I wouldn't. To be honest with you, I'm not one of these people that turn around and say, "My house is haunted, my house is haunted, my house is haunted." But we filmed an episode of our show in here because we were doing it on haunted objects, and there was a number of things that came through, including at one point I left my voice recorder on the kitchen table downstairs, and we got an old lady's voice come through saying hello.
Oh my gosh!
And actually, I can try and dig it out, but there's that. And then that time, me and Jason were doing an interview for the show, and it was when I was over the other side of the kitchen, and I'm talking to Jason like this, and I was looking over in the corner of my eye, and where we were sitting before, you could see like the laundry room and the washroom by the side of each other, and in the corner of my eye, I could see the door opening. And then as I looked up, it wasn't just like the door drifting open like that. It was as someone had their hand on the door and they were going backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. And it was just like, and I was like, and I said, hang on a minute. So I got up and I walked towards it, and it just stopped. And I thought there was something behind it, like an animal or something like that. And I was here on my own. So it's tiny little things like that. But it doesn't feel, it's not. It's not like I want to get an exorcist out or anything like that. It's just I know who it is. It's the lady that used to live here before, and it's fine. It doesn't really bother me that much.
Good.
Right. Yeah.
Still,
it's a little unnerving, right? Like, to know that something's creeping around.
To be honest with you, I've probably lived in about 15, 16 houses in my lifetime for long concessions. Out of that, the first house, there was activity in there. That was kind of what inspired me to do what I'm doing now. And then the second house we got in Maple Ridge in BC, that there was an old lady downstairs. Even my dog picked up on, like, there would be like this white light, like this white apparition of a woman, and even my dog used to acknowledge it as well. And towards the end, before we moved out, he wouldn't even bark anymore because it became so natural.
Right.
And then here it was, it just really started happening since day one. But I think it's more her being curious about who's in her house and stuff like that. And even when I was building this basement, we were. I was down here on my own because I was living here about 4 months before everyone else moved down there. And I could hear talking coming for what I thought was outside that way. And there's like an air brick there and stuff like that. And because this used to be like a cold room. And I thought someone was talking upstairs in my house. So I've gone running up there, and I thought someone was in my house with a hat. So I've gone running up there with my hammer, and nothing's there. And then I've gone outside and I've gone to the other side of the wall thinking the neighbors are out next door. No one's there. Like, it's middle of the day, everyone's at work and stuff like that. So anyway, I've come back down, and about an hour or so later, I can hear footsteps in my hallway. And my hallway is where the duct, it's kind of a poor design, but the ductwork sits almost plumb to where the floorboards are. So if you walk down my hallway and you're under my crawl space, you can hear the ductwork vibrating as you walk. And it basically started from one side, and because I had the door open, I was working the crawl space as well, and you can hear that walking down the hallway. Then I heard the same voices again, and it was if they were talking, like there was two people talking. Gone straight back up there again, nothing, and then got back outside again, nothing out there as well. And I thought it was a radio, nothing. It was just totally mad. Let me just try and find that EVP. You guys carry on talking.
Have you lived in a haunted house, Lynda, or a house that's been?
Yeah, I mean, I think most of the houses that I've lived in have had something. I know that this house that I'm in now, definitely, I'm in my dining room area, and even Pete, before the show, he saw something move next to me, which was kind of interesting.
Yeah,
right?
I was talking to Lynda, and you see that plant on Linda's left-hand side there was like this black, and it was almost as if there was a problem with the camera. It kind of matrix, but it was actually there on the screen. There was just like this black thing around the side.
Wow.
Yes.
Of all the time for me to join late.
Yeah.
Right. But no, it's nothing bad. We've never had anything horrible or terrible, but definitely in one of our first houses, I knew something came in with the birth of my first daughter, and that happens a lot.
Right.
But definitely something came in, because when I got home from the hospital, the second night that I was home, the teddy bear that was on her dresser in her bedroom kept falling off. And there was like a good 2.5 feet between the end of the dresser and the wall, and the teddy bear was against the wall, and it fell off about 3 times. And I thought, yeah, somebody's here. But
something's hanging around.
Something hung around for a little while, but then it went away, which was fine.
Right.
But yeah, and it can happen. Just things can happen. They can be brought in with the birth of a child, for sure. And I've heard that so often. Did you find it, Pete?
I did, yeah. I'm just going to say, if anyone's, there's a few viewers watching at the moment. If any of you guys have lived in a haunted house, just give us a comment on the thread, and we can just tell us your story. My mouse has gone dead now as well. But yeah. So hopefully you can hear this. I'm going to put it over the microphone.
Hello.
Did you hear that?
Yeah. Holy, that is loud.
Hang on.
Hello.
It sounds British too.
She's definitely.
No. It's Italian, like the other EVPs we got in here.
Really?
Italian.
Do it again.
Hello.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was upstairs in the kitchen. The voice recorder was left on the side, and we were actually down here. We were doing a scrying session with a supposedly a haunted mirror that had, like, it was supposed to be reclaimed wood from India, and we were doing a scrying session down here. It was before I built the walls and stuff like that, and it was left upstairs. And I went through the voice recorder later, and it was only like a month or so later. I went through it. It was like, what the?
Oh my god! Can you play it one more time? Play it one more time.
Yeah.
I'm like, play it again. Play it again.
Yeah.
Hello.
Wow.
That's what do they say? Class A.
That's it's Class A. It's if this was Ghost Hunters, it'll be a Class A EVP.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And that's all she said. Hey, just the hello.
That's it. There was a couple of there's some other EVPs on there as well that we got upstairs, but it's not as clear as that. That's like the other EVPs we got was when Ronnie, one of my investigators, she was actually talking like I'm talking to you, and there was a woman's voice in the background, similar to that, talking in talking over her kind of thing. Right.
Okay. So was the voice that said Janita's name, was it the same as this lady? Was it the
No
same?
idea.
Okay.
I got, honestly, it was just Janina, and it was just like, fuck. Like that's all that processed in my head.
Yeah.
It just kind of like really kind of hit me sideways in that respect. But
yeah,
I mean, things and stuff like that, you can kind of, you get like John, or things that are misconstrued in your head, and it can be interpreted in different ways, especially if they're static as well. But then when you get that frequency spike where you've got that level of static, and then all of a sudden it either pauses or it gets louder, that noise gets louder.
Right.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
I think he got stuck.
You got stuck, Pete. Poor Pete is stuck.
He is.
But it's not terribly unflattering, It's,
No, at least it's not one of the ones that we've had in the past where it's been like,
oh, it's so embarrassing, some of them, right?
and you're like, you go back and you look at them later and you're like, how long was I on?
Right?
At that face.
I know, it's true. But now that things are going back in the studio and stuff like that, on mainstream TV, it's not as fun, because when it was on Zoom, it was like everybody froze.
Yeah.
It's not fun anymore, Kathy. It's not fun anymore.
You have to just imitate it yourself. So just stop in the middle of a session and
exactly. Or make one of those weird faces,
and see how long it takes before anyone really notices and says something to you.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm sure he'll be back. But here's the question. I have a question. I mean, we're talking amongst us about all of this stuff. How do you feel about testing out your equipment in your own house, or filming in your own house? Because a lot of paranormal investigators, they won't do that because, right?
That I'm the same way. I have to admit, I am the same way. I'm very paranoid about that. I think it's because of also the work that I do, because I do a lot of psychic work and I seem to have control. Like when I do medium work, I'm able to control who comes in and who comes. I mean, somebody might come in and be a little bit, hello, and somebody might come in and be a little bit, intrusive, right? Yeah. But they don't stay, and I can push it out and I can say, okay, no, thanks. And whatever, this isn't, especially if it doesn't belong to my client, because sometimes when I open up to a client, you can get other energies that will come through, and I'll say to my client, does this resonate with you? And if they say no, and I'll be like, okay, you got to go, you're, this is not the time for you right now. So within my own house, I am a little nervous about it, to be honest. I've never really done any investigating within my home. And I think too is because my son is so sensitive, and we've had a few, incidences that I don't want to, he's at that 16-year-old age where the hormones are all going wonky and, everything else. And I don't know if it would be the right age to be bringing something like that in, because I wouldn't want, if something did decide that it was going to hang around, maybe it's better that I don't really see things in my house. I block that out. I mean, if something we've been on the show a couple of times where something has fallen in my background, or, had something wonky going on. I'm okay with that, but I don't pay attention to it. Like I don't sit there afterwards wondering who it was. Kind of like, with the plant and Peter, that Peter saw in the plant, right? Right. Peter in the plant, but there's a TV show right there. But I don't pay attention to it.
Peter in the
plant.
So
I just sort of ignore it and go on, and I don't know if I really want to know what's in my house, to be honest, because I'd either be. I don't know. I think I'd rather just ignore it.
That's exactly what I tried to do with that what happened when we were filming here, and it was just the fact that at that time my house was empty, like there was no furniture in there or anything like that, and it was just like, great, let's film something for the show here. And we've got different rooms that are empty and stuff like that, and we had different simulations with like alleged haunted dolls and stuff like that, and it was great. But then I kind of, when the first day I arrived here, there's one, like if you walk towards my bedroom, there's like a kind of a narrow corridor, then it opens up, and then you've got like there's a skylight, and it goes to either my son's room or my daughter or my room, or either side of the hallway. And the first few times I walked through there, it was like if I get up during the night, sometimes I get up and I have like something to eat and I go back to bed. Every time, about 2 or 3 times, I'd walk down that hallway, I'd get to that bit where it opens up, and it was that cobweb feeling on my face.
Yeah.
And it was just, there's that cobweb feeling is just, you can't explain that. Like it's just, there is something to it, because there is a condition behind it as well, but it's a little bit more complex medically. But you've got that moment where you walk into a certain environment and it just feels like you're walking into a cobweb, but there's nothing there, and you look like an idiot because you're like trying to put skin
or you're like this.
Yeah. You're like a leper.
You're the little puppy. How about you, Lynda? Would you do it in your own house? Would you feel comfortable, or have you done it?
I've tested equipment in my house, and I have to say, I mean, a couple of times I thought, why am I doing this? I don't want to attract anything weird. But then again, I think it's all about intent, right? So I think if you are okay with it, and you do all the right things, and you protect yourself and your environment, and you have the right attitude, I think you're okay. But I do think that if you don't have the right attitude, you can certainly attract something. But I mean, I've been doing this so long that it's like, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I'm like that as well. It doesn't really bother me that much, because we've been in that environment before, like loads of clients' house and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's just the inconvenience, I guess, sometimes, because like stuff happens and you're like, oh, like when we was in Maple Ridge, things used to go like, you used to move around, and it was just like you got a bit lazy after a while, because you were picking stuff up and putting them down. He's like, oh, it's a ghost fault, and you just blamed it onto him. But secretly, you're getting early signs of Alzheimer's or something like that. But you're just blaming the ghost kind of thing, and it's just I don't know. It's not. I don't think I'd like it. If I was to pick a home, I'd rather a home that I can create my own energy, rather than walking into an energy that's already there, if that makes sense.
Right.
So,
yeah, makes sense.
So this week, we are going to finish off where we left off last time with topics. We were. I've got my book in front of me where I wrote notes before, and I must have been in
track.
I know. Well, I must have been in a rush, or I might have. Well, I couldn't have been drunk because I don't drink, but I could barely understand my own handwriting. So, but we were 1/3 through the way of talking about psychics, and then Cathy ended the show.
Was not me. That was not me.
Right, I know. So I'm gonna pass.
Good try.
I'm gonna pass the mic to Lynda, and I'm gonna ask you, what are your opinions about psychics? In general.
Psychics in general, or psychics on investigations?
Just in general. Well, they're part of our environment anyway, so you can probably. You can do a comparison between both.
Well, I mean, I find that psychics, and you'll probably laugh when I say this, psychics are very useful in what we do. because, there are a lot of people that are very sensitive, but some people are more sensitive than others. And some people can, they're clairaudient, they're clairvoyant, they're clairsentient. They have all of the above and more. So when you're walking through, you're doing an investigation, and you want to know a little bit more, you want somebody else's opinion of what's happening, while you're there, things that you can't see, things that you can't sense, they do come in handy. And many of them are very talented, and they can pick up on residual energies that you may not be able to pick up on, or they may be able to see something that is an entity that is, an entity that is talk toable, and they can talk to it. So I don't know. I believe in them. I've had a lot of experience with them, and I'll say some of them are better than others. There are psychics and there are psychos. I've dealt with both. And I've done investigations with both. And some of them give you great insight, and they can pick up on things that you can't pick up on. They know things that you wouldn't ordinarily know. And then there are those who are much more interested in becoming the center of attention during an investigation, rather than actually working on the case and working with you and your team. So, there's sort of both sides of the coin, which is why you have to be very discerning if you're going to take a psychic with you on an investigation. You almost have to vet them. You've got to invite them in for a job application or something like that, or a job interview, because they're not all created equal. Some of them are downright annoying, and some of them are really good. So, they have to jive with your team. That's sort of how I feel. And I do believe in them. I totally do, because I've worked with some good ones. But yeah, some of them are just annoying, and they want all the attention, and they're not necessarily good, but they love to hear the sound of their own voice. So there you go. Next.
I've got to tell you guys a story. It's kind of funny, and for some reason it just popped into my head now. So we had a case, oh my God, my son was little, like he was probably about 5 or 6 at the time, and he's 16 now. So this was a long time ago, and he was very, very sensitive. And we got called to a house. It was actually for one of our investigators. And they said, you know what? Can you guys kind of just look at the house, because we think something's here, but we don't really want to investigate it ourselves without somebody else. We want objective opinions here. So I brought my son over with us, because they had 2 kids the same age. And we thought this will be good, because their kids will play with my son, and they'll all be distracted while we're doing what we do. Right? Rather than being in our faces and, the whole bit. And it was funny, because we were in the kitchen, and all of a sudden we were all standing there talking. And all of a sudden I heard, probably about around this height. I thought, what the fuck? What did I just hear? And I was like, what the hell is, and I look for my son, and he's not there. And all of a sudden I hear, and I said, okay, I'm hearing something. I'm hearing somebody talk. And the other investigator that was with us, he was also a medium. And he said, did it sound kind of like gibberish around this height? And I said, yeah. And he goes, yeah, there's something definitely here that is, it sounds like a kid. And so, interesting enough, my son, all of a sudden, about 2 minutes later, comes running down the stairs, and he says, there's a kid up in that bedroom. And he's like, there's a boy up in there, and he's trying to play with us, and we don't want him to play with us. The other 2 couldn't see it, and they were actually scared. So the other 2 kids couldn't see it, and they were they had a huge house, so it wasn't like they could all hear us or anything. Like, my son just randomly comes running down. There's a kid upstairs, and he's trying to play with us, and we don't want him to play with us because they can't see him. And it was this big story. And then they all so we had to go upstairs, and sure enough, the other guy, the other medium, saw him right away. And it was crazy. I was just like, wow, okay, we've never had that happen. So it was kind of cool, because when you have the psychics there, as long as they're not, like you said, psycho, it can really help.
Yes.
But it was kind of funny that my son is the one that saw anything, and we only heard the audio of it, like it was trying to talk, and I must have got sick of Liz trying to talk to us, because it just went upstairs and decided to appear to my son and described what it was wearing and everything. This little boy, it was crazy. Yeah.
So my opinion, drum roll.
Yes.
I'm going to fill you in with a couple of stories that I personally was witness to when I was president of the Vancouver Paranormal Society, and one when I was when I was in the UK as well. So it gives you a kind of a content on exactly why I'm not putting everyone in the one basket, but it'll give you a general idea. So there was, I took over Vancouver Paranormal Society about 11, 12 years ago, and a famous psychic in Vancouver contacted me and said that I would like to join your team. And I met her downtown Vancouver. We had, I had tea, coffee, we had a chat, told her about the expectations of what I expect, her joining the team and stuff like that. And it seemed okay at the time. And then she came and joined us for an investigation, and we were all like, wow. She was like, names, this and that. And like she was coming out with names that we were, we took her and she was mentioning names, and she was sitting there and she was saying names, and we were writing them down. And I was talking to the client after, and like, how did she get that? That's my grandmother's name, and this and that. Just totally blew us away. And then we went on the second investigation, was evidently in Vancouver, and we got to the client's house, and the rule is that we always go in as a team. No one goes in first or anything like that. So I pulled in outside the investigation, and because she didn't have transport or anything like that, I was like, okay. So I tried to call her, no answer. So I just assumed that she wasn't there. So another investigator turned up. So we went in there, knocked on the door, and said that, oh, we're here. And the woman went, oh, I'm glad you're here because so-and-so's here, the psychic. So we were like, oh, okay. And she said, where is she? She's downstairs in the living room. So we walked downstairs to the living room, and we opened the door up, and I caught her on top of there was a pile of posts on top of the mantelpiece, and she was going through names, through the letters. And I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, no, I'm just being nosy and just put it down, that kind of thing. I was like, oh, okay. And then I said, look, we did the investigation, and then we went to leave, and everyone left, and the woman was still talking to me. And, you do a debrief with a client and stuff like that. You're saying, well, we didn't have any, we didn't anything concrete or anything like that, but we're going to go back and review the evidence, the same generic stuff you say to all the clients. And we'll get back to you in a couple of weeks. And she said, oh, good, thank you. She goes, I did feel a bit uncomfortable, though, when your friend came in earlier, because she was asking me all kinds of questions about my past and stuff like that. And I was like, really? And she said, yeah, it was just she said she was a psychic and stuff like that, but she was asking me for people's names and stuff like that. And all of these names just came up in, like what she was saying during, oh, I sense a name, I sense a John and stuff like that. Yeah. And that was just one. And then that's actually happened probably about 5 or 6 times over the last decade with VPS in different situations, different considerations and stuff like that. And it's always been the fact that these people have alternative motives rather than helping people, first of all. Yeah. And they want to endorse themselves, whether they're legitimate or not. It's always that they have to be the focus of attention. That's why I chose, and it was nothing to do with being a part of TAPS or anything like that. That's why I chose at that time to kind of put them to one side. I with myself, I have abilities, and you have abilities, Lynda, as well, and Kathy, you have abilities as well. We all have those abilities. Some people are able to fine tune it, other people can't. And unfortunately, with people that think that they can, they go out and they say, 1 minute they're a total non-believer, and then the next thing they're a full-blown psychic, and they're going around doing the same thing as well. And that's an echo of what goes on in Vancouver at the moment. And it's like giving a loaded gun to a kid in certain situations because they're self-proclaimed psychics and they're doing more harm than what they are good. But then on the flip side of that, there is legitimate ones out there that have very much special gifts, and I've noticed the similar traits to each one of them. Sorry, were you going to say, one of you going to say something?
I was going to say there's a lot of them out there that really focus in on the, well, like you said, it's an agenda, right? And, you know, especially with that, you've got this dark thing around you, or you've got this attached to you, or you've got this, whatever it is. And it always seems to have some attachment form or dark energy form that seems to be the trigger for the client for them to have this medium come back on a regular basis, or do multiple readings for them. Or I remember when my daughter, she was probably about 18, and she had come to one of our public meetings, and there was somebody there that, you know, claimed to be a psychic. And normally she was kind of hanging around me, but at this time, you know, we had all kind of went for a little coffee break, whatever. And this guy just really approached her and scared the crap out of her, saying that she had all kinds of dark entities and all kinds. And here's a 18-year-old, you know, who, even though she's fairly well versed, you know, because of living in the houses that we had and just, you know, being with my kid and whatever. So she kind of knew it was BS, but at the same time, it does put that element of fear in you where it can really highly affect you, especially at that young of an age. And it was hard.
We had one guy, and I will say his first name in public because if I ever do see him again, anyway, there's a guy that lives in BC, a guy called Derek, and he's a famous psychic, intuitive and stuff like that. And regardlessly, if you have abilities or you don't walk into someone's house and tell them that there's 40 dead bodies buried in the back garden.
Oh my God.
Oh no.
Like, where do you even comprehend that is okay to even say that to someone? Like what you know, you get up in the morning, it's like, okay, this woman, like, she contacted me, and I basically said he was full of shit, which I know I'm right, but this woman was in dire straits because there were things happening that we found out was environmental issues going on with our house. And she wanted to reach out for help, and she was told to reach out to a medium psychic because they can tell you exactly what you want to hear rather than what you want to know. And he came out, and it was there was 40 dead bodies in your garden. And like, she contacted me because she then reached out to her friend, and her friend was going, no, talk to Peter. And it's just like, where do you even start with things like that? Like if that woman, you know, would, you know, just took it the wrong way. And, you know, how would you react if someone even said that to you? Like, there's 40 spirits. And I think at one point he mentioned the demon word as well. And it's just like, there's 40 ghosts in your house. Like,
that's crazy.
It's just disgusting. Like, it's really like horrible how people can just conduct themselves like that. And it's just shameful on them. But on the flip side of that, there was one, like, the traits of the psychics or the mediums that I know they're very much telltale signs of when you look up empathic people. 100%. They don't socialize in public. They just keep themselves to themselves. They're very withdrawn. They don't want to be in crowds. They just live in their own little box, and that's it. They're the ones that have come forward in my life. I've never looked for them, but they've come into my life, and they have said things that only myself and other members of my family close to me would know about myself. And I've been to a lot of mediums before where they've just turned around and said, I can't read you, because it's not because I'm on poker face, but I have this, I'm very much grounded, and I can, I can read a lot into people as well. And it was just, one lady, Patricia, lives in Vancouver. She earns money in what she does, but she's legitimate, and she earns money in a craft. Like, there's no shadow of a doubt with what skills she had. And I invited her to the Orpheum Theatre in Vancouver because I was doing public presentations there, and we had like Heritage Society there and stuff like that. And I said, come out with us, Patricia, and like just walk around with us and stuff like that, just get to know you and stuff like that. So she came out, and I met her, and we were setting up all the equipment. And I said, I'll take you to the tour of the Orpheum. She's like, yeah, I'd love to. You know, I've never been around this theatre and stuff like that. So I took her around the backstages and stuff like that. And she's like, oh, that's good. And, you know, I was expecting to say, oh, look, there's a floating object. And, oh, look, there's a man with no head on a horse and like shit like that. And nothing whatsoever. So then we got back to the stage where we were setting up equipment, and she turned around and said that, she goes, you're going to have to excuse me. She goes, I'm going to have to go home now because I'm really, really exhausted. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, are you okay? She goes, it's the energy. She goes, I'm going to have to go. So she left anyway. Did the investigation, went home about 9 o'clock next day. She calls me up and she said, I'm very, very sorry about what happened. She said that as soon as I got there, there was a gentleman, and he was just following us around. And I'm like, oh, God, here we go. Yeah, that kind of thing. And it was like, and she said that he was saying, she said he said a few things to me when we were going around, and he wanted me to, I think he wanted me to speak to you. And I'm like, okay. And she said that there was some things that he wanted to say and how sorry he was. And she said that there was, there was a finger missing there. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And then she said that he was in a suit, and she said he kind of dressed like it was like the 1950s, 1960s. And he had a tash, and he kind of had swept hair, and he was very kind of brochy, and he wanted to be heard, kind of thing. And she said that he mentioned about losing a ring, and he meant in the hospital, and he also mentioned the fact that he was shot in the head.
Oh my God!
And then I was like, oh, okay. And then she said that she said, oh, I got a name as well. She said that I said, well, what did you get? She said that I got Arthur, and she goes, I got Arthur George, and she goes, I didn't get his last name. I think it begins with a C. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I said, thanks very much. I said, look, thanks very much. Okay, be in touch. Bye, like that. So I put the phone down. So I'm laying in bed, and like, I've got paranormal hangover. So I'm laying there, I'm processing in my head like what she was saying, and I'm like, Arthur George. Fuck my granddad. My granddad's called Arthur George Catlin, and he was shot. He was in the Navy during the Second World War, and he was shot in the head, and the bullet was lodged in his skull, and they couldn't get it out. But he lived, like he survived the war and stuff like that, and he was discharged after the war, and he lost his finger because he used to repair vehicles as well. He lost his middle finger there, and there was. The ring as well, about losing the ring in the hospital. There was only my mum and my nan that knew about this when he died, because he's that's right, it was his wedding ring. He never had his wedding ring on there because that was his finger that was missing. So instead of that, he used to keep his wedding ring over his middle finger like that. And when my mum and my nan went to the hospital to pick up all his belongings and stuff like that, they couldn't find his ring. So they were calling around to all the porters and stuff like that, and no one knew about where the ring was or anything like that. Anyway, they found the ring in a night safe, and the night safe had one of those old-fashioned timers on there, and it was locked. Apparently, it was locked at about 8 o'clock that night, and my grandfather died about 10 o'clock that night, and it only opened 8 o'clock the next day, and that's when they found it.
Wow.
Found the ring in there. So it's things like that. And honestly, like Cathy, you know me very well. Things like that, you can't, like the name and stuff like that. There's no way that even if that Patricia wanted to research my life, like those details, you cannot get anyway. Like that, there's only 3 people that knew about that ring. There was me, my sister who's dead, my dad, and my mum and my nan. The only people, because it was a family secret. And it's just things like his name as well. Like he's even on his death certificate, they never had his middle name because he didn't like it. But she said it word by word, and it wasn't even. You can't go on Ancestry and find him on trees and stuff like that either, because he was very, there wasn't much information disclosed on him. But it's all those parallels. It's just like things like that. You just can't. Like honestly.
Uh-oh. Did he freeze again?
I think so.
Uh-oh. We'll give him a second. Dan actually said here that he had been swindled at some point. Oh, there's Peter again. Hi, Peter.
Sorry.
Dan had mentioned about being swindled by a psychic at some point. He said that she did a lot of fishing with generic questions. And then he caught her looking at family photos and asking questions about the people in the pictures. Yeah, I think that's such a sleazy thing to do, but I think it's really common. It sounds very similar to what you had experienced with that one.
There's 2 sides of that. There's a thing called cold reading, which you probably heard about, Linda, where someone they ask specific questions and the responses then generate to another question. So it's like basically starting at the bottom and jumping from branch to branch to work your way up. And then there's also a type of reading called a mirror. It's called a mirror reading, where someone could walk into a room and say, Linda, I can see a woman, and someone will describe you, but kind of in a mirrored version. Mm-hmm. And you would have ability in your life to parallel that with someone that you know. So you like your personality and stuff like that. And you say, oh my God, that's my auntie. My auntie was like that, because you have traits and personalities of people in your family. And that's kind of there's a guy called Darren Brown in the UK that has he's documented about that reading, and also about the other types of readings as well, cold readings as well, of how those bogus psychics try and fish for more information, kind of thing.
Well, they do that a lot at these big events, right? You get Long Island Medium and a few of those, and they're you just can't. If it's interesting, like it's hard, because when people say prove it to me, it's hard to kind of prove unless you're actually in. I don't like to interfere with people's energy, first of all, unless it's us. Like, I'm not one of those, I'm going to walk up to you in the middle of the street and although it was interesting, we were having lunch one time, and we were having lunch one time, and I was with 2 other ladies, and we were talking, and there was this old guy that just kept babbling in my ear. And I said, look, I got to just say something, because if I don't say something, he's not going to shut up. And I'll find a lot of times that they'll do that. Like, they won't shut up. I have to, it's like, if it doesn't belong to them, it doesn't belong to them. That's not my business. But I said, there's this old guy, he's standing here. He's saying he can't talk. Like, keeps bugging at me though. Like, he won't shut up. Like, he's pointing and keeps pointing to his watch, and he's pointing to the window, and he's saying something about, like, mentally saying something about talking, time flying or something like that. And he just kept going on. I said, but he can't talk. Like, it's like he's lost his voice. And she just started bawling at the table. And she's like, well, that was my grandpa. He had throat cancer. So but he always used to say, like, spell out, like, in sign language, don't let time let you pass by. Like, don't let time fly. Like, do the best with your life with what you can. Don't let it go out the window. And she goes, that used to be his big thing all the time. And it was like, okay, well, that makes so much sense then, because and then once you say it and you let it out, that they're happy with that and they'll go away. Sometimes they want to keep talking, but it depends on the situation, whether you can have them. Most of the time they just want people to know, hey, I'm okay. And I had this client the other day. She's like, do you pick up anything on my dad? I said, the only thing I keep getting is I keep getting shown a train. Like I keep hearing the word train, and I don't know what that has to do with anything. And she goes, well, he gave us a train set and it's set up in the basement. And he used to play with trains all the time. So, things like that, it's minimal, but it's enough to give sometimes. Like, if you can't pick up anything else, or maybe they don't want to talk anymore. But when you have things like that, Peter, like that's very impressive when you have a medium that can, obviously your grandfather had been hanging around you probably for a while wanting to get that message through.
He's always been around me, and I never met him. That's the thing, and everyone has said that my personality is exactly like his in the way that my characteristics and stuff like that. And it's almost as if that he's been a part of my life since I was born, but I've never met him. And it's not, everyone says spirit guides and stuff like that, but I've always had that sense that there's someone there, but I know that I've never met him, and that's the thing. But I know him very well. So, and it's that's just, you got, there's a skeptical side of our field and stuff like that, but stuff like that, it's when and believe in whatever they want. But I know close to my heart that is a reality to me, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, just be aware of the ones that'll say things like, "Oh, your spirit animal is here to talk to you." Yeah, just be aware of those.
My chipmunk on your shoulder. What's a chipmunk for? The chipmunk is telling you to, I don't know, whatever. Store for the winter. Store for the winter.
Poor Peter's frozen again.
Yeah.
God.
Oh, he'll be back, I guess, at some point. But yeah.
I know.
Oh, poor Peter. Maybe he's just having some internet issues today.
Oh, when are we not ever having internet issues, though, Kathy?
I know. I actually because I had got the new computer, I forgot that it was on downstairs. I've been using the old one for up here, for doing the streaming. And just before the show, I was making sure, I better turn off the internet because that's going to be a fiasco. My iPad's off, my phone is off, and it's like yell at the sun. Okay, is your internet off? Yes. Okay.
Oh, I know. It's so crazy. You know what, though? I liked that topic of the psychics because I think it's important to talk about it. I like to deal with the psychic mediums who are perhaps less well known. I like the ones that are quieter. I like the ones that, may have their own businesses locally, but are unobtrusive. I really like that. And I think it's important that they understand that what we do in the field, we have to do it with integrity. And if we're working with a client,
and professionalism.
That has to be paramount. They can't go in and then it's, their show. It's not a show. It's an actual legitimate investigation. And these people have legitimate issues. Some of them are scared. Some of them are upset. It's not a show. And I think
that some of them, the mediums are influenced by the TV shows as well.
Yeah,
I do too. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like they're seeing, I know that the mainstream ones like ghost hunters and ghost adventures and stuff like that. They don't normally use mediums. They never have them on. But there are a lot of the side shows, or even Dead Files. Like, I like Amy. She's very legitimate, from what I've seen. Of course, there's going to be show stuff put onto the show. That's a given on any freaking TV show, no matter where we're going. There's going to be some show stuff. But I like Amy, as a person. Like, she seems very legitimate and stuff, like but it's interesting because, I think that all of them have this idea that they're going to go on and they're going to have their own Dead File 2 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about that once before. And I mean, the only thing is, there's very, very, I'm never going to be able to, you had mentioned that we're never going to be able to find some sort of dragon, witch, spirit, demon cleanser or anything like that. Like that. I mean, that's the part that I, find, difficult as far as, her show goes, but the rest of it, is like, that can make it very, very tough. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I want to know where a chaos magician is in Keswick, Ontario.
Right. That's what it was. A chaos magician. I love that. As soon as I heard that, I was like, how do you become a chaos magician? Like, what courses do you take for this?
I don't know. Like this.
Yeah, so kind of funny, but no, I mean, I do think that there's a lot of them. I mean, I told you about the one that I used to work with, once in a while, who, Darby the leprechaun there, that was her go-to all the time. And yeah, so I mean, there's people that are out there to scare and definitely have the attention.
Oh, yes.
And I think that when a client has a team come to the house, I think a lot of people don't do the research on the teams. They think that every team is the same. Every team has the same ethics, the same integrity, the same honesty and morals and everything else. And they don't. And it's very, very sad. The
problem with that, Kathy, is a double-edged sword, because if you've got like Joe Smith, who's trying to reach out to a paranormal investigator for help, he doesn't exactly know what type of criteria he should be looking for. That's the thing. So the first step being is that they've actually acknowledged that there is people out there, and they're like, okay, I need someone that can help me. And then they go to the internet, and they don't know the difference between what a ghost hunter is and a paranormal investigator. We do. Right. And they will find the first team that will pop up in Google that can help them. So it'll be Jake the ghost hunter, hires a kite, and he'd be like, Jake, I've got problems in here, can you come over and help me? And he'll go, yep, and he'll be over there. He'll be over there within 10 minutes, and the client thinks that he's going to get sacked. But then there's, I guess the point being is that there's zero expectations when someone comes around your house if you don't know what to expect.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan is saying in the chat here that he's seen teams take their kids on investigations. Well, I did for my son that one time, but they were friends. So, I mean, that was a little different. It wasn't meant to be actually an investigation. But, so, but yeah, I've seen some crazy stuff, people, or you hear things, or, we have a lady here in Edmonton that likes to go over to people's houses and tell them that they have portals all over the house, and then she'll stand there in front of the mirrors and do some swaying and singing and switching of hands for a couple $100 or whatever it is, and then that's it. Then she's gone. And it's funny because they've done this in enough places that was actually the reason why Edmonton really shut down on its paranormal investigation, like some of our places that we wanted to get into, is because these morons had already gone there. And it was unfortunate that they, like the antics that they had put on, everybody was like, oh my God, we're not letting anybody else back in here. And it wasn't until they started calling us and saying, hey, could you, this is what's going on. We would like to, you guys have a good reputation. Could you come out? So reputation is everything.
Yeah.
Agreed.
When I started investigating back in the UK, there was obviously before the days of social media and stuff like that, there was probably just a handful of known teams up and down UK, and it was a good basket to be in at that time, where there was no, it was just before the time of Most Haunted and stuff like that, and no one really kind of knew exactly what we did. And the breaking point for me was I got into a lot of heritage sites because of fundraising. I did a lot of famous castles up and down the UK. I did Leeds Castle, Warwick Castle, Dover Castle, because I approached it in a way that that's going to be fun, and it also will bring, it will bring revenue to charities, and that's the key. That was the key to how to get into those places back in the UK. And then that train lasted probably about 3 to 4 years until I left. And then there was one particular case where a team in West Yorkshire, which is northern England, they actually decided at one of the castles to build a fire outside. And that fire got out of control.
Oh, no.
And then that venture got tarnished up and down the UK. And that, it was just like, can we come in? No.
Yeah.
And that was even before, the ghost hunters or anything like that. It was just that one thing that spiked it. And they're all interlinked in the UK. It's not like heritage societies in certain, provinces and stuff like that. It's all part of the Queen's Heritage Society. So it's all kind of under that one thing. So if one person has a problem somewhere, everyone's going to know about it. And that's what that's what ruined it and burnt that little venture. But
that's too bad. What a shame.
Yeah, it was good. Like going into the castles and stuff like that. There wasn't, looking back at it, there was a lot of memories in relation to paranormal, things that were happening and stuff like that. But not as much as what you think. Like, it was more to do with us being in a like a medieval location at about 2:00 in the morning in pitch black, and just being there and knowing that you're a part of history then, and just sitting in that environment, just waiting for something to happen, and it was really good. Unfortunately, Canada doesn't offer things like that, but they do over your side of the coast, but not over on the west side, Lynda.
True. True.
So we've gone over the hour. I still have a list of topics. I've got another five subjects that I wanted to discuss, but we just didn't leave the conversation of psychics. So I guess that we should do this again sometime.
Sure.
I love that.
Mm-hmm. Me too. Me
Okay.
too. Well, thanks, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in, everyone. And when are you away, Lynda?
Well, I'm going to be doing lots of events with my team starting September 17th. So I'm going to be gone from September 17th all through October. So we're going to be doing Friday nights and Saturday nights. So that's going to be crazy. So I'm going to be gone for a while.
No.
I know, but I'll be back though. I'll be back in November.
If you will, because otherwise we'll fly down and kidnap you.
we actually have October the 30th. We have a public presentation that we've just scheduled for a place called O'Keefe Ranch, which is in Vernon, which is just up the road from here. And what we're going to do is we're going to try and film it and put it live on the show for a Saturday.
Nice.
So the area, like, we've purposely picked, because they've got this big converted barn area where they can get like COVID friendly seating and stuff like that outside, so we can get about 50 people in the barn, and there's a Wi-Fi hookup in there as well. So if we can get a good connection, we're going to do a live feed for the presentation. And we're also doing a charity public investigation as well, where we're going to be taking the members of the public around. And it's basically a late 18th century, like, there's it's like a little town. There's a church there, there's a graveyard where the O'Keefe family have been buried and stuff like that, and there's the mansion, and there's like little outbuildings. There's a little grocery store as well there. It's really like kind of surreal and pretty. But what was weird, I'll tell you about this story. So we went out on we did a tour of it, not last weekend, the weekend before, and we got all the way to Vernon, and we got actually into the car park of O'Keefe. And as soon as we pulled up outside, this red truck, fire marshal, pulled up by the side of us. And because at that time there was fires everywhere, and was like, oh no. And we traveled all the way up there, and the guy said, the guy got out, and the manager was there to meet us, and she said that that was a fire marshal. We only have like a couple of hours there because we're going to be evacuated. And I was like, okay, so let's do a quick tour around and stuff like that. So we're going around, being filmed as well for the show, and the woman was trying to fill us in with a bit of the history of the place. And we went to it was the smaller of the houses there, and a lot of the houses you go into are all glass. They have like perspex glass, so you don't go in there, you can't climb over, and you can't go into the rooms. You know, and jump in the bed, and do little starfish on the bed, that kind of thing. You can't do stuff like that. Anyway, so we're standing there, and there was a guy came out of us, a guy called Michael, and he was going to be a part of our show originally, but he moved to Vancouver Island, but he came over just this once to help us out filming for the show. So I walked in first of all, and there's Jason and there's Michael kind of going into the house with me. So I'm standing and I'm looking at the displays with the writing and stuff like that. All of a sudden my phone rings, and I'm like, so I looked at it, and it's Michael dialing me. So I'm looking at that, and like me and Michael are friends on Facebook, like, right. But last time I messaged Michael was like early 2020 on Facebook, and that was the last time we even spoke on Facebook or anything like that. Michael's standing there, he's got his big camera, and he's holding his bag like this.
What?
And I'm like, Michael, I said, you're calling me. And he's calling me on Messenger, and he's like, no, I'm not. And anyway, we kind of took like a couple of seconds to process it. So he passed the camera to Jason, and then he put his bag down. He got his phone out, and it was somebody. He said it was on Keylock, but he was calling me. Like,
that's weird.
Like, I'm not saying paranormal for 1 minute, but it's just really weird. And like we were talking about, I said, like, when you were coming over, were you going to message me on Messenger and stuff like that? He said no. He said that because we create a thread on how we're going to meet there with group. But he said he said I went through Messenger, and he said all I did was just go to the conversation, and he was calling me for that.
Weird.
Wow.
I know, it's just totally weird. It's totally weird, but anyway. My life is weird anyway, so.
It's true.
It's true. How'd you know? Is that you outside my house?
She knows you. This is why we all know it. I mean, never mind. No.
Well, I don't know about any of you. I had fun. That was fun. We have to do this again.
Yeah.
It is fun, and it's more natural when it's just us talking rather than interviewing, I find anyway.
Yes.
It'll be interesting to see what other questions Peter has for us, Lynda.
Oh boy. Yeah, well.
Yeah. Yeah, I can give you a taster. One of them, the next one on my list was near-death experiences. So that gives you a kind of an idea of where the topics are going. So
I like that one. That's a good one.
So,
yeah.
Okay, so we're doing this again, right?
Oh, we are. Yeah, definitely. It's no, it's for sure. So you're sorry again. I got out. My brain's gone foggy. So you're leaving us in 2 weeks, is it?
I think so. Yes.
We've got next week, and then after that. Okay.
I know.
I'm sure me and Cathy can keep it together.
Yes.
Muddle it through somehow.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. It's one of those things, I kept thinking, well, I think my team might be able to handle it every once in a while by themselves. And I thought, no, you're the director. You should be there.
Well, not only that, but it's fun too, right? Like, I mean, we're going to be here, but the events are not. So,
no.
You got to go do the events for sure.
Yes.
Like, yeah. We would be wagging our finger at you anyway. So if you weren't going,
I know, right? You would be too. I know you would be.
Yeah.
I'll keep you posted on how things are going.
Okay. Perfect.
I promise.
Why?
What's that?
Could you do a live feed from there, perhaps?
Could try. We'll talk.
Yeah, we talk. Let's talk.
We'll talk. We'll do coffee. Bring the dog. It's all good.
Okay. Thanks, guys, for tuning in, and we will be back next week with a guest. Don't know which guest we're going to have yet, but we'll be back with a. What's next?
That was me pressing buttons.
That was funny. Very good, Cathy.
Oh, thank you, Cathy. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Now say goodbye, Cathy.